Hey, what's up? It's Tyler. Today we're going things a little bit differently. We are going to be discussing the physics behind Santa Claus. And what better way to do so than with the big man himself? Ladies and gentlemen, live from the North Pole, please welcome the one, the only Santa Claus. That's right. Today we are talking about the physics of Santa Claus with the big man himself. How are you doing, Santa?
Better than I deserve, Tyler. It's so good to see you.
How does it feel to be back?
Oh, I love this time of year and I love joining you. Oh, it's wonderful to be back. The good boys and girls, we're only 20-some sleeps until Christmas, depending on when you have to turn this assignment in, of course. But I'm so excited to be here with you and to be here in the month of December.
The first question I have for you, Santa. How is the open-air sleigh working to protect you?
Well, we've been at it for 1,752 years, you see, and with the help of science, we've been able to perfect how we fly and the ways in which we need to turn the sleigh and the dimensions and the wind speed. The reindeer have become experts at understanding and studying the aspects of science and helping me get through from home to home in the one night.
How does Santa not register on any of the doorbell cameras, camera systems, alarm systems, that kind of stuff?
Well, that's become a trick because it's become more and more popular for families and individuals to have these doorbell cameras. Typically we tell students and children, we come down the chimney or there's a key that Santa uses. Although that's true, just like the key I have here that I carry on me, we have to use some tricks and we have to know ahead of time kind of where those doorbell cameras are and what people are using. So there's some science behind understanding and getting information we need to be able to enter one's home.
How does Santa deliver all the presents in just a single night?
Well, we think about it in one night, but Santa often starts at the start of the time zone. So I start at the Christmas Islands and we travel around the world following the time zones and we end at the Atu Islands, typically about the time where you're waking up and having your Christmas cookies or leftover cookies or breakfast or whatever it is your mom set out for you guys while you open your gifts. It's about the time I'm wrapping up in the middle of the ocean at the Atu Islands.
How does Santa sneak around while weighing so much? Hey, that's kind of rude. How does Santa sneak around while being so voluptuous?
Voluptuous? You're just trying to not call me fat, Tyler. I get that. I know what you're doing there.
Sorry, Santa. I'm reading from a paper.
That's wonderful. Well, I get asked that often. Because how does the one man that sneaks around the world in one night enter homes and land on rooftops with reindeer that are noisy, and of course I wear bells, right? Well, there's a reason behind all of it. But on our reindeer team, Vixen's clever. She's the clever reindeer. She's so smart. And what it is she helps Santa determine and understand how to land on rooftops and if they're too steep or what the trajectory is we need to come in at to be the quietest we can, make the softest landing and not overshoot a roof, of course. But she also determines from the sky if it's best to land in the yard and go through the front. So there's many ways in which we measure the velocity and the dimensions in which we have to approach a home and how we remain quiet when we're on the rooftop. Now when it comes to being inside, over many hundreds of years I've perfected that slight single step. And how I do that in my boots, with my bells on my hip, and with a big gift bag, of course. So it's taken a lot of practice, but we've gotten there. And I've just perfected those types of things. So I hope that answers your question.
That's amazing. How do so few reindeer pull such a heavy sleigh?
Well, there's my reindeer, Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donder, and Blitzen, and of course Rudolph. But what most people don't realize, Donder and Blitzen were the first two reindeer on the reindeer team. And Donder stands to the left in front of Santa, and Blitzen stands to the right in front of Santa. The reason they're there is because Donder is the biggest and strongest of all the reindeer, and Blitzen is the fastest. And with the two of them in front of the sleigh, they're able to help the other reindeer take off. and pull the weight as they begin, which the other reindeer are there to guide and help fly the sleigh. But with their help upon takeoff, we're able to take off quickly and approach high speeds with the help of their strength and speed.
How does Krampus play into Christmas and naughty children?
Well, Krampus is a tradition, in another country. And that tradition comes from him approaching the bad boys and girls and scaring them to be good. Now that is how that tradition takes place in its native country. Now Krampus is really a good guy. He means well, but he's there to scare. Much different from Santa and Father Christmas and Papa Noel and what other nations believe, as a loving, jolly gift giver. So it's the approach which Krampus gives, his ideology and thought process to making children want to behave for Christmas. So for me, it's you be good and I represent jolly and happiness. But for Krampus, you're naughty and I'm gonna make you nice. That's the difference there.
How is Krampus tied to Santa?
Krampus is just another, mythological creature that is represented in his own country. So tied to Santa, he is Santa in his country. In the native area he's from, they don't have Santa, they have Krampus. So here, in England, they have Father Christmas. Again, Father Christmas is Santa Claus to us here in the United States. So Krampus is his own Santa Claus. It's just the portrayal that the history behind him in that native country exists.
Why does La Befana deliver the goodies for the stockings in Italy, but not Santa?
Well, again, much like Krampus, La Befana is the Christmas witch in Italy. And her portrayal is she flies in through the chimney and she delivers the gifts in the stocking so she can fly back out and away. It's just the approach that that country uses. Again, similar to us in the United States with Santa Claus, and similar to Father Christmas in England, and all the other ideologies that are used around the world. It's just a different portrayal, a different image, and a different story behind why she exists.
So we know that Christmas is the birth of Jesus. How is Santa tied to Christianity?
Well, many, many years ago, a wonderful gentleman, Saint Nicholas, a gentleman that came up as an orphan, a young boy whose parents gave him up to his aunt and uncle. And he was raised in a Catholic home. And he was given all these many wonderful things. And he later in life wanted to give back to those that didn't have as much. So he became a monk and a religious leader. Well, one of the things he would do is with his riches that he had, he would leave them for people. And actually, St. Nicholas is the saint of many things. He's the saint of bankers, lawyers, things you wouldn't associate with Christmas, right? But if you look at the images of what they use, oftentimes it's 3 bells or 3 golden sacks. What that represents is the story where St. Nicholas became most famous. There was a man who had 3 daughters, and one of them went to get married. Well, in their times, the father had to pay for the wedding. He had no idea how he was going to do it. Well, St. Nicholas, Nicholas at the time, got word of this. So what he did one night, before Christmas, he threw a bag of gold coins in through the window, and it landed in the stocking. That's kind of how that idea came behind. And this father was able to pay for Christmas, or for the wedding. He didn't know how that came to be. That in the following year, his next daughter announced she was going to be married. And again, the same idea. Nicholas found out, and he went and he tossed gold in through the window and allowed him to pay for the wedding. Well, now the father was curious as to who was doing this. So when his 3rd daughter went to say she was getting married, he stayed up. The father stayed up all night long, and he was going to catch him. And the story goes that when Nicholas went to deliver the gold coins, the father caught him. And what he made the father promise was not to tell anyone that it was him who was supplying these gold coins and helping him pay for this wedding. But upon his death, the story is that is how people slowly found out that Nicholas was the one giving to those in need throughout time. So he was a saint in the Catholic nature. But the gift giving in that came from his giving ways, from growing up with his aunt and uncle and the riches he grew from them to give to others within his priestlyhood, so to say.
We have one more question. Why did Santa not deliver any presents to the bad kids?
Well, oftentimes in a year, we do more nice things than we do naughty things. Now, Santa is on Mrs. Claus's naughty list right now. We're not going to go into that because I'm sure your teacher does not want to hear about Santa being on Mrs. Claus's naughty list. But Santa is on Mrs. Claus's naughty list because there's a discrepancy as to what one cookie is. But we won't talk about that. But the naughty list. Well, Santa doesn't often do naughty, you see, because some kids, some children, the only thing they have is the love at Christmas, seeing Santa. And a lot of the reasons behind why I portray Santa the way I do, because it's about love and giving and caring. Now, the naughty children, we give them coal. Coal is just a tradition passed down, because what it represents is that coal is there to help heat living rooms on Christmas morning, coming from the times where they used coal to heat the living rooms because they were much poorer and it was much colder, and that's how they did. So these children, the naughty children, had to use the coal, their gifts, to heat the home, while everybody else got to enjoy and have a great time. But for me, as Santa, I do very little naughty, because there's kids in this world that the only love they're gonna get is from Santa Claus at Christmas, when it's just telling them their wishes and dreams, and just getting a hug and a jolly ho 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 at the end of their discussion. Some of that's the most magical time some of them have, because of the way they have to grow up and the lives they live.
That's awesome. Thank you, Santa, for coming and answering these questions. I'm very excited to be making videos with you soon, some more content. But yeah, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. And anything you want to say before we end this?
I hope you give Tyler an A. He deserves it. He's the very best. He's on the top of my nice list.
Thank you. Thank you, Santa. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Thank you,
Thanks,
Santa.
Tyler.